Today we're going to be looking at how to study other successful speakers so that you can learn how to speak to sell. Learn the skills to be able to be a persuasive presenter, that you're educating people closer to a sale. And what I like to call being a super student of successful speakers, because this is one principle. If you want to get good at speaking, you want to study good speakers. If you want to be persuasive, study persuasive presenters, because there's a big difference that I've learned from public speaking and speaking to sell. One is a lot more profitable than the other. So what we're going to do is here's Notion, and on Notion we have that I'm going to show you 3 presenters that you can study. We got Dave MacArthur, and can we put the mouse over on what we're talking about? Dave MacArthur, and myself, and then Katharina Wolf. We got Forever Pack presentations that you want to familiarize with these stories, because these are the stories that sell. There's a really cool tool called YouTube Transcript. And YouTube Transcript, it's called YouTube2transcript.com. So what this does, let's copy Dave MacArthur's presentation, and then what this does, when we open up YouTube 2 Transcript, it's going to pull up this website, and this will actually take any YouTube video. If you can find a successful speaker or speech, or someone who is selling something or making an offer, he's educating to a sale, and you want to study, or maybe there's a webinar that was done and you want to like break it down or familiarize yourself with the stories that were taught, or if you want to remember, hey, what was that story about the guy who was on his way to the nursing home, he got on the products and his memory got back, he got his driver's license back, and he was so much better. Oh, and then this is how you can actually study. So what I did is I listened to Dave like 50 presentations in person, online, and probably a lot more than that. But as I would transcribe, I would type the words that he would say and study the stories. Notice the nuances, notice what he said and the patterns of how he said the same joke at each time. And it was like clockwork. And I noticed some of the variety how he gave variety to the talks. And every time that I studied the message, I learned something different. So now we have AI and we don't have to transcribe it all ourselves, which is super cool. That's what this tool does. So what you do is you just paste the YouTube link that you want in here and then hit get free transcript, and it's going to pull up the transcript all for you. Like, is this amazing or what? Super cool. And you want to click the button, if you see it says stick video to top, you can toggle that on, and it's going to make sure that as you scroll, and then it's going to stay at the top. Can we scroll down a little bit and keep scrolling? And you'll see how the video sticks to the top. If that's unchecked, then the video will be long gone by now. So we can go back up. So it has a transcript of the words. What we want to do is we want to study the words, the stories, the statements. We want to look at the selling principles. There's also an AI tab on here. When at the top left corner you see the transcript, but there's also an AI tab, and when you scroll down, this AI tab, it gives you a detailed summary of it. It'll help you to extract ideas, and they'll give you the main ideas, which can be very beneficial. Can we hover over them as I point them out? So they got the main ideas, and then, oh, they don't see the mouse. Interesting. Oh, yeah, they do. Okay, and then if you hit double tap the control, it'll also, maybe triple tap. There you go. Then it'll also point it out that way too. So they got the main ideas. You could identify patterns, which is pretty cool, and then scroll down to like extract wisdom. And there's also, if we keep scrolling, there's note taking, which is really cool, where they have note taking using the outline method, which that might help you to turn a YouTube video into an outline, since you're practicing a signature speech with key talking points like bullet points. And if we keep scrolling down, they have other AI tools that you can use. We're not going to go into depth there, but I want you to be aware that they're there to help you to like 10x your productivity. So let's scroll back up, and we're going to go back to the transcript tab. And what we're going to do is we're going to play this video, watch a little bit, and talk about what is the message behind the message and why is it being said. Are you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready for this?
Yes.
All right, that sounds good. So we will hit play now.
So, Lenny, why don't you start us off and we'll kick this off. We're ready to go.
Can you guys hear it well?
Well, hey everybody, Lenny Evans here.
Cool.
I'm so grateful to be here. Tonight, again, we gather to learn about the science of aging. And we honor this science. And we have a philosophy that we educate, you decide, and we support. Well, tonight we have one of the greatest educators, everybody that's going to be participating, but mainly Dave MacArthur, who's been doing this all over the country. Let's go, guys. Get excited about what you're about to see. Get excited for you and see how it can affect you and help you even more, and then see who you can help and how this could maybe be part of your purpose too. So Dave MacArthur, brother.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you, guys. And my co-host,
All right,
you
can
know
we
who
pause
you
it?
are, and just go ahead.
So I wanna pause and make a note here. What he just did, and you could full screen me, is this is a concept. What was that?
Oh, I know you heard me. Sorry. I was thinking out loud. I said edification.
Yes, it's edification. That's exactly right. So what he did is called edifying the guest. And what's really powerful is this is a skill you want to get good at. It's edifying a guest, edifying the speaker, edifying who they're going to listen to. Now, Dave could have just been on there and Dave could have just went up there and said, "Hey guys, I'm Dave MacArthur and I've traveled the world sharing these messages." And like that's not an ideal scenario because Proverbs 27, what does Proverbs 27 say in verse, I'll read this verse for you. Can we put it on the screen? Proverbs 27 and verse 2. Whoops, let me put this back. There we go. Notice what this says. Shanice, can you read this for us?
I gotta change my screen. Hold on.
Katharina, can you read it for us?
Okay.
Let another
Hold
man
on, I just
praise
got it.
thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips.
Exactly. So the scripture says, let another man praise thee. So this is a third-party validation. When you are able, like any time that you have a guest who's going to be speaking, or when you are being introduced to a new audience, you always want a third party to make the introduction. But it's not just saying, hey, here's Katharina, check this out. No, it's like, hey, this is Katharina. She's an international health speaker. She has been doing presentations for the last 5 years, and she is passionate about this subject and an enthusiast when it comes to telomere science and cleansing for health. So listen to what Katharina says, because the message she has the power to transform your life. Let's get excited for Katharina. And then I introduce her on the stage, because if we just said, hey, here's Katharina, and they're like, who's this person? I don't know. Why should I listen to them? What reason do I have to talk to them? Edification is really powerful, and this goes both ways. One, when you're being introduced, it's good to get used to being edified, because you want someone, you want to get to a point where they can't, like the Bible says, let another man praise thee. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want someone to praise me. I feel uncomfortable if they're doing that. The Bible says, let another man do it. And another thing is you want to get good at learning how to introduce your guests, because when you introduce them, when you edify them, it also helps your audience, your guests, your buyers to actually tune in, lean in, and listen in. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about edifying?
Yeah, I do have a comment. Like, this is not just like when you're actually like a guest, but even when you're like sharing a
Great job.
quotable or like telling about someone else, that's also a time that you can edify too.
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah, if we're going to be quoting an individual rather than just quoting Bill Andrews said, you talk about Bill Andrews was featured on Popular Science as the man who would stop time. They wrote a documentary about Bill Andrews and his contributions to he dedicated his life to cure aging or die trying. He knew he would be a geneticist since he was 12 years old. He's dedicated his life to this mission. So now we just edified him, and now we're talking about Why listen to Bill Andrews? Then we quote Bill Andrews says that this is you can't use this product and it doesn't help to lengthen your telomeres. It doesn't help, it's impossible for you to take the product without it working. And so if it's just some random dude where like Bill Andrews says you can't take the product without it working, and then people are like, well, why should I listen to Bill Andrews? But because I edified him, now you're like, ooh, this is a dude that I should listen to. And absolutely, so that's true. Now let's listen to the next section of the video, now where Dave starts going in.
And interject at any time. And we're excited with what we have to share. So I'm really excited. I love this time. I think I've done probably, seriously, about 7 or 8 of these since Saturday. And I don't get tired of doing them. Sometimes my throat gets a little tired of doing them. So, but I'm on great products, so I just recover. And right now I'm feeling good. So the purpose and what ignites me and others that are doing this is that we feel like we're giving people hope through the message that we're sharing, but it's not just a message of words to hang on to. It's literally something that can put you into action and give you results that start moving your life in a positive direction. I mean, if you want to move your life in a positive direction, let me, raise your hand. I was striving for everything that I tried to align my life with, everything that I did align my life with, I was hoping that it would move me in that positive direction. It just wasn't. And I was getting further and further away from my goals, and I was losing more and more of that zest for life because I was losing my health along with it. But now all of that's turned around because of this company. In fact, I just did a little Zoom with Kathy Cooper on it, one of the founders of the company, a multi-billionaire, on a vacation trip right now, meeting with her family, took time away from her family because we love sharing this message of hope. And that speaks volumes, you guys. She didn't have to do that. I don't have to do this, but we do it because we love it and we know what we're doing in the world. We know that we're helping people to create the highest, grandest version that they can for themselves. And it starts with our health. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. This is where I was at. And my health was not good. In fact,
Now, there was a lot that he said there that I want you to recognize is, number one, well, actually, how did he start the presentation?
He shared that he was like excited, or like, this is why I'm excited. So he basically shared like his vision, his mission, and his excitement. Like, I live for this. I don't have to do this, but I live for this.
Yeah, that's true. And even before that, he shared how many times did he do the presentation just by Saturday?
7 times.
Yeah. And sometimes he'll say like, hey, I've been able to do this presentation over 3,000 times and I don't get tired. And when someone says that they've done the same presentation over 3,000 times, does it make you want to like lean in and be like, wow, there's something to this? That this guy knows what he's talking about. He's been teaching for a while. So a lot of times he'll say a comment like that about how many times he's done the presentation. And you're right, he started with the why. He started with his why, and many times when he would teach, he said, we are here to give a message of hope. We're here because it helps people. He's a fundamental question that people are asking constantly when they're listening to you as a speaker is, who is this person? Why should I listen to them? And what's in it for them? I was showing a free resource of a guy who's teaching calisthenics, and someone was like, yeah, but why is it free? What's he want from it? And what is he gonna get from this? And the thing is, like, Pete, if you don't answer that question up front, then it's going to be a distracting, nagging thought in the mind of the viewers. And as they listen, they're like, why is this person giving me all this information? What are they trying to sell me? What are they trying to take from me? What are they trying to dupe me over, deceive me, or whatever? And then by you being able to address, like, how you're here to give a message of hope. I don't have to do this. He said Kathy Coover, which, again, remember how he introduced Kathy Coover? Do you? No?
She's something about like she's on vacation. I know I mentioned that.
Y-
Like, and
Come
did it
away from
say
her,
like how much money she makes?
Yeah. What was that, Sherry?
took time away from her family to get together with him.
Yeah, all that. All of it is right. He said that Kathy Coover is a multi-billionaire. Kathy Coover is the founder of Isogenics. Kathy Coover doesn't have to work, but she's taking time away from her family so that she can come do presentations and train people how to share this message with other people. And he said that I was talking to Kathy Coover, a multi-billionaire. So that also helps to build credibility by association, because now he's in communication with highly successful people that it's like, oh, well, this person also knows what they're talking about. But Kathy Coover is also the why, saying that Kathy Coover does this, I do this, not because we have to work, but because we get to, because we're giving a message of transformation. So when you're able to share your why, your mission, your vision, like what prompts you, what motivates you, why do you believe this is a mission, not just a money-making scheme? That's when people like tune in, they listen, and you answer one of those nagging questions that everybody's asking, what's in it for them? Why are they doing this? Why are they so generous? Because they have a heart to help. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are there any questions or clarifications about that?
No.
Another thing that he's about to do is he's about to start with his origin story. In his origin story, he's now going to introduce this new opportunity of the Isogenics products, and he's going to relate with the audience in so many different ways and talk about his story of struggle and what he went through in order to find this discovery of this breakthrough, this aha moment where now he was introduced to Isogenics. And that was the first time that this topic is introduced before he moves on. So I want you to listen. And in this story, he's actually overcoming multiple buying objections. So let's play this next portion that he has all on this slide. On the right.
I don't look good at all there. That's at 36 years old, you guys. That looks like, my dad or something, So I was struggling. I was trying to provide a great lifestyle for my family, which wasn't working. We were grateful. We were grateful for the things that we had, but I wanted to provide greater opportunities and bestow greater gifts on my kids. We get a lot of pleasure out of that, don't we, when we can bestow gifts on others. This window on the house broke, and it's stayed broken for years. I deliver newspapers. Some of you out there deliver newspapers, right? Some of you might be doing it right now. Every morning, year after year, delivering over 200 newspapers. And I was losing my health. I wasn't getting any closer to my goals. I was providing a service. I had aligned myself with certain things. And I was even eating healthy right there, you guys. I was eating oatmeal with just hot water in it. I was eating salad with lemon squeezed over it and putting lemon juice on it. That's not fun. There's nothing fun about that, but I was doing it because I thought it would give me the results that I wanted. I was riding my bike to work and back. You can see the farmer's tan. I was riding my bike in 110-degree weather right there, and it wasn't working. Everything changed. Everything turned around because of what I aligned myself with. This company and what they're set out to do to free people both physically and financially. And we're now living our dream life. And I'm so grateful for that. And I want others to have that as well. And you can. That's why I do it. I wouldn't do it if it was, futile. It's actually happening for a lot of people. So let's go into this. And, I call it bringing heaven to earth. When your health is down here, it does not feel like heaven. It feels like a living hell is what it feels like. But as soon as your health starts to get better, and I'm talking about overall health, wellness, well-being, your mental clarity, the mental energy, along with the physical as well, wellness. And things start to change, your attitude changes, and it just impacts everything that you do. And I started attracting more and more good things into my life, and my life just kept getting better and better and better. And it's like heaven on earth now. So I call it bringing heaven to earth, sharing this message with people. And we just want to help get as many people up here as we can through educating and giving the exposure, role modeling, and just being there to support people. So the Forever Pack It's what we're going to share today. The company has a lot of great products. You know, John Anderson formulated for over 600 companies, over 3,000 different nutritional products. And as he formulated for these other companies as a private label manufacturer, he said they all compromised the products. Not one of his products got to the consumer the way he wanted it to get to them. He didn't have control over that. They just hired him to make products. They can do whatever they wanted with the product. And he said every single time they were compromised. So John Anderson's vision and Jim and Kathy Cooper was to create the best products that his mind and that nature could provide, and then continue to learn and expand and grow those and improve even on that. And every product that you put into your body from Isagenix, it makes a difference. This, however, is the two most powerful. And this helps people to create a very healthy habit and go in a positive direction very powerfully, very quickly. And it's super simple. That's good, right? And this right here, I would say that this, where's my bottle? Let me grab it. It's always by my side. Is the single greatest one thing that anybody could put in their body by a long shot. And we're going to spend, the most of the time on this. And then we're going to talk about this. I don't even call it a meal replacement or superfood. It's beyond that. It's unparalleled nutrition. So this has never happened before because of the pioneering and the technology and the alignment and the collaborations that have happened. This has never happened before. It wasn't even thought of happening until technology improved enough to where they could start to even conceive of the idea. And here it is. I'm holding it in my hand. We're pioneering something here. So, and then we'll go into how you can share that and then just ask you to give.
All right, now let's break down a little bit of what we saw here. There is two main things that he did. He talked about his origin story, then he talked about John Anderson, and then he talked about the products. He introduced the offer that he's going to do. So what were the observations you made as you went through and you listened to what he said?
I know when he was sharing the origin story, I'm like echoing everywhere. When he was sharing the origin story, he talked about how he was trying to provide for his family and doing all these things, and he was grateful. And then when he was introduced to the products and company, the way, I don't know if it's in his tone or just his word choice, but he just made it sound simple. Just have to took these simple things and it transformed his whole. He actually used the word simple in there somewhere. So to me, the way that he talks about it makes it seem like it's simple. It's not this overcomplicated thing where you got to squeeze lemon on your salad to get results. You just, take this superfood nutrition and you get the results kind of thing. That's one thing that I observed from it.
That's true, absolutely. That's good. What about you?
I liked what he said in regards to he tried all these things and they didn't work. The lemon on the squeeze lemon on the salad. In other words, I'm not even taking dressings. I'm doing what I know best. And he's exercising, riding his bike every day, but they were still not getting his goal, getting him towards his goals. So there's that. And then what I liked is when he shared his vision of this is what I call bringing heaven down to earth. That's very I was that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Absolutely. And the whole vision of bringing heaven down to earth, it reminds me of this Bible verse in Deuteronomy 11:21. Can we put my screen on there? It says that your days may be multiplied and the days of your children in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them as the days of heaven upon the earth. So he shares his why. Again, you notice a lot of it's a why. Even when he talked about John Anderson, he now introduced a new person. And so what did he do when he talked about John Anderson?
He edified him.
He edified them. And so by edifying, how did he edify? He said that he's formulated over 3,000 products. He's been formulating for X amount of years. And he talks about the problem. The way that you share a vision, you know how to share a vision? Vision is a problem. When you ask, like, what problem does your solution solve? What question goes unanswered if you don't exist, your product doesn't exist, your company doesn't exist, your team doesn't exist, your offer doesn't exist? So the why is like, what is the problem that goes unsolved if your product doesn't exist? So his problem was he formulated for all these major companies, and without exception, they all compromised. So now he's got the pain. So notice when he's telling stories, he's taking you through a journey where John Anderson, and it was really short, where John Anderson is like frustrated with this problem. So what did they do? John Anderson, Jim, and Kathy Coover co-founded Isagenix together, and they had a vision to get the best possible formulation of products into the marketplace without compromise. You see how that creates buying beliefs in people? What that implies too is, notice that when you're telling a story, there's always two directions that are taking place, and your story always has like two messages, so to speak, where you have all story structure is like story. You have two journeys, so to speak. You have the direct story, which is like John Anderson was frustrated with all these companies, and so they co-founded Isagenix and made this amazing thing. But they also have what I like to call the indirect story. The indirect message is really the purpose of the presentation. The indirect message is the purpose of all the stories that you teach and selling from stage. Because indirectly, what was David MacArthur talking about when he's edifying John Anderson? He's saying many popular supplements are compromising their qualities.
Bogus.
Yeah, and he also sometimes he talks about CNN did a study called Bogus Supplements, and they tested a lot of common supplements on the store and found that some of them had only 6% or 3%, and some of them didn't even have anything that was advertised on the label of what they actually said that they would have. And turns out the FDA allows for up to 6% of what you say is on the label to actually be in the supplement, and that's okay. And so there's like this bogus supplement study, which is still like a third-party validation. It's not Dave MacArthur saying it. It's a reputable, it's like news outlet, which most of the world recognizes news as something credible.
Like authority, yeah.
Yeah, right? So indirectly, it's saying like you're already spending money on bogus supplements. So with Isagenix, you can have no compromise supplements. See, and he's positioning a buying objection. Because if someone's like, well, I already have supplements, why do I need yours? By telling that story and the way he edifies John, he's indirectly overcoming and smashing buying objections right in the beginning. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
There's another way that he overcame buying objections in his origin story. Because when you look at how, the way I like to think of like these buying objections is a lot of times your ideal client has a current vehicle. A vehicle is like a method that they are seeking to solve their problem. They're overweight, they have a vehicle. So what old vehicle is not currently working that they're trying to use in order to get to the destination they desire? Whether it's weight loss, whether
bicycle.
it's... What was that?
He said his bicycle.
Yes, bicycle. So
That's a vehicle. Exercise.
Right.
So he was trying to exercise.
yeah, he was trying to exercise, and you see that he said, I was exercising outdoors. I was bicycling back and forth to work for the purpose of getting healthy. And he's like, you could see the farmer's tan. I was out in the sun. He was exercising, which is a lot of people trying to
Healthy?
exercise to lose weight.
Oh, sorry.
Are a lot of people trying to exercise to lose weight?
Yes.
Right. And he's showing that and his phrase, he kept saying, it's not working. What else wasn't working for him?
Eating healthy. Eating salads with lemons squeezed on top of them.
Yeah, eating healthy. Now, are people trying to eat healthy in order to lose weight?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And you said like, so what is the epitome of healthy eating? for most people?
Salads.
Salads without dressing. And he's like, how nasty is salads without dressing? Like, most people don't want to do that.
That was a cross.
Right? That was a cross. He said that wasn't fun. That wasn't enjoyable. So he's associating a lot of pain with all other alternatives. He's showing, like, this is what you want to do. A principle when you're communicating is you're showing how all the other alternative vehicles, like what people would do instead of buying your program and following your principles, your method, what are all the old methods, the other methods that you are positioning against that people would otherwise be doing or currently trying to do? And in his story, he's telling the audience story in the first person. Does that make sense? He's like, this is what I was doing. So directly, he's just talking about, hey, I was trying so many things to be healthy and they weren't working. But indirectly, he's like, look, all these other exercise programs you could buy, or a lot of the eating healthy things, like the salads without dressings, like these things are not going to get you the results that you're looking for. So he's indirectly overcoming buying objections simultaneously and positioning his offer as the best thing since sliced bread. He's positioning his offer as like their best chance of obtaining what they desire most. Not just physically, but financially too. Did you notice how he talked about his before and after? His before, but also after, he says, I'm in better shape. Now he's like, look, that was me at 36 years old. I look like that old guy looks like he could be my father. And Dave is now in his 50s. And he's in better shape now in his 50s than he was when he was an all-state champion wrestler in California in high school. And he didn't say that in this time, but he often shares that in his fitness transformation. But isn't that powerful? Like, how does a guy in his 50s get in better physical shape than when he wasn't just a wrestler. Like, I was a wrestler and I was like the second fattest kid on the wrestling team. But he was an all-state champion. He got #1 in California. So he was a fit wrestler, but he's in better shape now than he was before. And so like that story too helps people to say, wow. And when he tells that story, what objection does it overcome? I'm too old to be healthy. Oh, they don't make them like they used to. Or it's like I used to be healthier. Young people stay healthy, fit, and mobility and strength and exercise. That's all for young people, right? He's appealing to people who are past the prime, so to speak. And they think they're over the hill, so they've got age that's working against them. And he's like, look, when you get this nutrition and telomeres, what was that, Sherry?
It's a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. He's literally busting all of these lies that people believe that would cause them not to buy your offer. And this is just in the first, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Are you guys catching all this?
That's a lot of intention with one story.
We're just getting started. And the whole 60 minutes is all packed with dense, calculated buying objections that are overcoming a lot of objections. Other things that he says that he does in here is that he was already taking supplements. He was taking a bunch of supplements that he was trying to do. He talks about how he was juicing. He was juicing for better health. So I think juicing is a great solution. I recommend people juice. Juicing is great. But when I'm selling the Forever Pack, then like being able to tell that story about juicing, people think concentrated nutrition. Before Isogenics, the only way I knew to get concentrated nutrition was through juicing. It's like, okay, but even I have a juicing story where I tried juicing too, and I was like, I put all of these veggies and healthy things I thought would be good. I drank it, I'm like, okay. And I'm like drinking that, I'm like, oh man, this is intense. And I've had juices that are good, like carrots and apples, like that's not bad. But I've had green drinks that were not good. And so a lot of people think juicing is like, ugh, that stuff's gross. So I can relate to them. But what we have is healthy drinks that actually taste amazing and fuel the body with nutrition. So it's an old way, new way frame. Are you catching this?
Yeah.
Why is the old vehicle, new vehicle so powerful? Because get this, if you write this down, the human brain cannot, under any circumstances, understand a new concept without contrast. The human brain requires contrast to understand a new concept. So if you're introducing a new opportunity like telomere support, nutritional cleansing, cellular cleansing, and some of the new these are some of the new ways that we are talking about. Telomere, we're talking about cleansing, but it's really like a cellular cleanse. And we're talking about the nutrient-dense superfoods and mineralized food. Like when you're introducing new things, they have to be contrast to other things. And now, like if you know his story, you know how he talks about UCLA did a study and they found in 1950, like it was like 40s, I don't remember, he's going to tell us, but it took one bowl of spinach to get a week's supply of iron. And then in 2007, UCLA did the same study and found it was 51 bowls of spinach. His story about eating salad without dressing, he's squeezing lemon juice on it, trying to be healthy. That goes really well with the story. So he's actually reinforcing the same principles again and again and again. That story is positioning against the salad, which is the epitome of quote unquote eating healthy. People are like, oh, I don't want to lose weight because I don't want to eat rabbit food. And they're like, I don't want to eat grass. Yeah. So he's helping to overcome those objections. And he still eats salads. Like I've been to what was it called? Sweet Tomatoes in California with him. We've had lunch and on multiple occasions, and he'll eat salad. He likes it, but he knows that it's not the same as the nutrient density in our meal replacement shakes. And he calls it, notice what he calls it, unparalleled nutrition. He says, I wouldn't even call it like a superfood, a meal replacement shake. It's better. It's way better than that. See the amount of confidence, enthusiasm, passion, belief that he oozes out as he communicates. That's how you want to speak, with such passion and conviction, because conviction is one of the most important emotions when communicating in high converting content or persuasive presentations. It's enthusiasm, passion, and belief, and he has it all. So he's like, yeah, he'll talk about like the food-like stuff. He'll refer to everything else as the food-like stuff. He says, but the shakes, this is the real food. This is the fuel that fuels my $1 million body. I can buy the best foods in the world, but I know even the best foods I get my hands on can't even compare to the meal replacement shakes and isogenics. That's how he says those types of things. Why does he call it food-like stuff? Because a buying objection is, I like to eat my food. I like to chew my food. I don't like to drink food. Right? And he's like, I want to eat real food. Not him, but like buyers who have objections are like, I believe in eating my food, and we're selling like a shake. So he calls it, like the other stuff, food-like stuff. And he backs it up with science and studies and the minerals being depleted. And where now he's saying the old way is all the food that you have been eating. The new way is the nutrition from our store. Is this making sense? So you can use these labels that you can borrow these phrases or statements. Another thing is you want to learn to borrow to build. This is one of the biggest reasons why we're studying we're being a super student of successful speakers, because we want to borrow their stories to build our stories. Like you might ask, Enoch, what if I don't have a story like Dave MacArthur? What if I wasn't trying all the salads and supplements and juicing? I wasn't trying all these things that weren't working. Well, one, I would say chances are you actually do have a lot of experiences that are similar. You just haven't dedicated as much time and attention and intention like Dave MacArthur has to looking in your past to see how can you already relate to the audience you want to sell to. That's the first thing I would say. But the second is in the beginning, it's okay until you develop your testimony, use the testimony of others. Borrow Dave's story. Like literally, if you don't necessarily have an origin story with Isagenix, you could talk about what about it makes you passionate. Like when I first joined, I was telling people I see a vision to help health educators. Like the way I was brought in is because John Rhodes, he shared with me, he's like, Enoch, as health educators, you and I, we send people to health food stores all the time for free. Why send them to other people's health food stores when you can send them to your own health food store and get paid for it? I was like, what? That's an option? I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, that makes sense. And I know so many health educators, and I've been a health educator for 5 years, but not making the financial results that I'm looking for, traveling around the nation doing cooking classes, health lectures, and seminars and videos, but I'm not making nearly as much money as I'd like to. Here, John's making multiple six figures. Dave MacArthur is making multiple millions, and they're just doing the same thing I am. But what's the difference? They've aligned. Notice how Dave said he aligned himself with a company with higher principles, better quality, and by him saying he's aligned himself with the company, he's directly saying I align myself. Indirectly, he's saying when you align yourself with the same company, when you align yourself to link arms to share this message of hope and healing with others, by like sharing this message with others, you too could have a similar before and after experience that I have. Did you guys catch that? There's more buying objections, that he's not just selling the products, he's selling the opportunity. Go ahead, Shanicia.
I remember, as you were saying, there's two types of stories that are being told. I forget what they're called. I know one is like
The direct and
the one
indirect?
that like you directly say, and there's like another subconscious one or
No,
something.
indirect. Yeah, it's right on the whiteboard. Direct story
Oh.
and the indirect story.
Okay, I can't see right now, but when he's sharing all these different things, like, is he aware of the different strategies that's being used, or is that just like something that we're able to label, like he's doing it intentionally?
100%. Like I've traveled around multiple states presenting with Dave. I've spoken on conference lines with him and at seminars and hotels, and we've spoken and done many messages together. And I know for a fact he is doing it intentionally. He knows it very well. Like these stories, they don't just accidentally come up. You don't accidentally create a high converting presentation. These sales messages, selling from stage, is a very intentional and deliberate effort that you're crafting a sales message. And he's taught me, he told me, he's like, look, Enoch, facts tell, stories sell. So a lot of what I know about story selling, I learned from Dave MacArthur, and how he introduced me to have a story for every objection that you're overcoming. And he's broken down why he's done certain things that he's done. On like private conversations, we've shared hotels and traveled around in his rental cars as we're traveling from different places, and we have long drives that we're able to talk about selling and serving people and spreading the message. So I know for sure he's doing them intentionally. And other like sales speakers who are successfully selling from stage, it's very intentional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So we've got that. We looked over his origin story. We looked over his John Anderson and the Forever Pack. I will say too, one last thing about his origin story. His before experience and his after experience. Notice it contained him speaking on stage at Celebration, the big annual event for Isagenix. It shows him speaking on. It shows him like with his dream house. A lot of times he would talk about his story of how he actually bought the dream house. How he, funny stuff. I won't go into that now. But he has his dream car. He has his family. That was his why of why he did it. He's a family man. So he's subtly showing too that this isn't just a health product. This is a wealth product. That you can be a product of the product financially. So he's doing two of those simultaneously. He's speaking to the health educators, the inviters, those who are on a mission to serve, and he's speaking to those who are on a mission to be served, and they're looking for a solution. And he's doing it simultaneously. And when you get good and when you learn to talk about both opportunities, not just either or, that's when you're going to find that your business starts to grow. And you have a lot more referral partners who are ready to spread your message. Is this helpful? All right, let's keep playing and go to the next portion.
Yes.
Get back with the person that got you here, and how we can help, not share it, but help people to get this message that they're praying for. This was what I was praying for, a solution, or take my life. A lot of people have that prayer. So this is Jimmy Smith. I've known Jimmy for coming up on 14 years. He's 80 here and he's 90 here. He looks younger at 90, doesn't he, than he did at 80? Well, he is. His cells are younger, not just on the outside, throughout his entire body. And we're going to go into the science of that and how that is duplicated and why it's duplicated. So let's just take a look at a human cell here. And the middle of every cell is called the nucleus. And there was something discovered called a telomere back in the 1930s. They didn't even know the role that they played. They just knew something was going on the ends of the chromosomes. Well, the telomere is actually protecting the DNA inside the chromosome. So this is your chromosomes. They sit in the middle of every cell, the nucleus, and they contain the software that runs each and every cell independently. And it's really the DNA is the software that runs the cells. Well, where the colors come together, that's called a nucleic bond. They don't stay together on their own. The telomere holds them together. And when the telomere is compromised, so is the DNA. There's a domino effect. If something happens to the telomere, then something is going to happen to the DNA, and it's not good. It separates those nucleic bonds. That's damaged DNA. It'd be like losing software in a computer. So the more damage the telomere gets, the more DNA you're going to lose. The more software the cell is going to lose, till eventually the cell shuts down. Just like a computer, when it loses enough software, it will crash and you can't even turn it on. That's the same thing with the human cell. When you lose enough DNA, it crashes. Only it's called senescence, and meaning death of the cell. So the shorter that telomere gets, the more damaged it is, the more problems you're going to have with your health, because your cells are going to be malfunctioning. That's Nobel Prize winning research 2009. We just simplified it. When I was introduced to Bill Andrews, the geneticist, he had me at hello. I had never heard of a telomere. And neither did people when they invented processed food. They didn't know what a telomere was when they invented processed food. Processed foods have a lot of chemicals in them that do not serve the body. What we know today is that those chemicals that are in processed foods, put there on purpose, shorten your telomeres faster. They damage the telomeres faster. And pre-teenagers, their telomeres are 10 years shorter than they used to be. It's called accelerated telomere shortening. So that means they're going to have the problems with their health at much younger ages. And they are. They have osteoporosis now before they're even teenagers. You know, babies are born with type 2 diabetes. Why? Because those chemicals are getting to the baby while it's forming. And it's damaging the telomeres in the womb. It's why I think it was something like 1 in 4 babies have some kind of health challenge that are born. It's a telomere issue. Every health challenge that you have, all of the labels they put on things, from your toenails all the way up to your head and everything in between, is a telomere issue. It's linked. That's the Nobel Prize winning research. They've linked the telomere and the lack of telomere health in your body to every symptom of aging and every degenerative issue. Now, Bill Andrews, like many of us, believes that the body can heal itself, only he knew it on a much more profound level. He knew that the telomere, the chromosome, could heal itself through a gene that produces an enzyme called telomerase. You and I know that when we cut our skin, those cells start to do something, and we can kind of see it. And over time, it repairs. The skin cells do. The Band-Aids don't do it. The skin cells communicate. They heal themselves. That's called an innate ability to heal itself. Well, Bill knew that that gene could do it in the chromosome, only it wasn't. We were going the wrong way faster. It's the first generation of children that won't live as long as their parents because they're getting to senescence faster, so they're going to die of a degenerative disease younger. So Bill has spent his whole life doing this. He said, I'm going to cure aging or die trying. And he identified that gene that produces this enzyme in 1994. By 1997, him and his colleagues in his lab, where they invented the procedures, were able to activate that enzyme in a petri dish with human skin cells. Guess what happened? He was right. A lot of people ridiculed him, thought he was chasing, a rabbit down the wrong hole. No, he proved them wrong. He got Inventor of the Year runner-up for doing that in the petri dish with their processes. Only lab in the world that can do that. And then Harvard piggybacked off of that, and they did it in mice. And that changed everything. It changed the whole perspective on aging. You do not have to have all these degenerative issues. The body has the capacity to prevent them from even happening in the first place. So the issues that were caused by this, what the science now shows, when you reverse that damage, those issues go away. And they saw that happen with the mice. That's when they gave it the Nobel Prize. And that's why they featured Bill, 14-page article in Popular Science on Bill Andrews and his research that led up to this Nobel Prize. So here's me and Bill. He had me at hello. I haven't stopped talking about this since 2009, and I'm not slowing down. And we have a long ways to go to help people find this solution. And you're now being called to it. And you attracted it into your life, And so I would encourage you to, it very well could be that it's the solution you've been praying for, or it could be a solution that somebody is praying for, and you were the link to that. So write down the people's names that come to you as they pop up into your mind as we go through this. But I asked Bill to do a little video with me. I took his research and really was mentored by him, really dug deep, and then put it into this simple, easy to understand presentation. And Bill said, that's the best presentation I've ever seen, Dave, to take a super complicated research and make it easy for everybody to understand. And then we did this so I could get into medical professionals.
Dave MacArthur.
I'm Bill Andrews.
And I wanted to introduce this video to you. I've collaborated with Bill Andrews and been lecturing around the country about his research in Product B. And Bill Andrews actually discovered the human telomerase gene back in 1994. He was featured in Popular Science as the man who would stop time. So Bill, what would you like to say?
Well, I've listened to Dave speak many times on Product B, and I endorse everything he has to say. So I invite you to come listen to Dave MacArthur speak about Product B.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. That really helped to get in past the gatekeeper, which is the secretary at the doctor's offices. Because here's the guy, the leading researcher in the world, endorsing what I'm about to want to share with that office that doesn't know anything about telomeres. So also did an interview with him and the formula.
Wow. There's so much there. Did you guys catch that? What was it that stood out to you in this section that we looked at so far?
The fact that he has the video as a resource, because it gives credibility to what he's talking about. And so it's like, this is the guy who, put the whole thing together, or helped put it together. And so the fact that he has him on there endorsing it, that's like a big thing too. And I guess I was trying to think of, like, if you don't have like an interview with Bill Andrews, or what would be the equivalent. But I guess it's kind of like the slides that you share when you talk about Bill Andrews' research and study that he did. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like along those lines too, is that one thing I want you to notice is like how many people in Dave MacArthur's audience, when he's talking to lay people, how many of them have really ever heard of Bill Andrews, let alone a telomere? Like almost
not many, I guess.
Almost none of them. Although Bill Andrews is leading the way in telomere science, most doctors don't know what a telomere is. 99% of the world doesn't know what a telomere is. He's dedicated his life to this mission. He's the only one on the world that has a lab that can accurately track this. And so what's interesting to me is that Dave edified Bill Andrew to introduce into your minds why you would want to listen to Bill Andrews. So he's not just quoting Bill Andrews. Notice all of the edification that built up into even quoting anything that he's saying about the subject. Like there's an entire slide that's talking about it's like Bill Andrews' origin story as it relates to the product, which at the time it was called Product B, which is now it's called NAD Recharge. And it was product B. Then I joined, it was isogenesis. It was just like that transition. And now they're always improving the formula. So now it's NAD, which is amazing. So it's a telomere support. I just say telomere support supplement for simplicity. But what Bill Andrews does is, so like Dave is just telling the story about, he was featured on Popular Science. His research led to the Nobel Prize. And he even mentioned how Harvard piggybacked off of Bill Andrews' research. Do most people know what Harvard is?
Yeah.
If you guys don't have background noise, then you could stay unmuted. There's no reason to keep it muted. It'll help you guys to react or engage easier too. So they know Harvard, and when he says that Harvard piggybacked from Bill Andrews, it shows that like he's a foundational pillar that Harvard's building on, and then they did it in mice, and that discovery like show that he got Inventor of the Year award. So how do you edify guests? By awards, credible organizations, third-party endorsements, achievements. You talk about like books that they've authored. These are different things that build credibility. That's how you edify someone. You talk about their experience, even their focus, their dedication, their enthusiasm. Someone who has dedicated his life to cure aging or die trying. He edified Bill, and now that video matters. Because if Dave just played that video, then the audience would be like, who cares? Who's Dave? Who's Bill? Go ahead, Shanicia.
Who's Dave and who's Bill? It's true. But I was thinking like, if he gets to a point where he's talking about what the product is and what it's called and all that, and then he's like sharing like the guy who helped with it, and then he played that video, then would it have to be like the same? Would it have the same effect? I don't know how to ask the question, but like it mattered in what sequence he would share the video, right?
You're saying if he played the video first and then went through edifying and describing who Bill is?
Like he talked about the product, who the person is that did it, and then he actually has like interview with the person who did it, kind of thing.
You're talking about Bill Andrews? You talked about the
Yeah.
product, and Bill Andrews
Yes.
helped to create the product, and then an interview with him, or an endorsement with him? He didn't go through an interview with
Yeah.
him yet.
Yeah, an endorsement.
Okay, yeah, it does help when you edify the guest first. Like really the first introduction you have to the name, it's good to edify. Whenever you mention a new name that the audience doesn't know, immediately let that be synonymous in your minds with edification. New name, oh, let me edify him, even if it's 3 sentences about the person. And then you move on.
So it's kind of like defining words that or terminology that we know, but then that we're introducing to the audience.
Exactly.
Same thing with people.
100%. So an example, another principle is like instead of assuming everybody knows who these people are, or everybody knows the same knowledge you do, that chances are they don't, you're the knowledgeable person, they're the ones who are looking for your knowledge. So like you're dealing with a telomere support product. Who knows about telomeres? They don't know. So in order to see the value in a supplement that supports the telomeres, we have to first introduce what a telomere is. And notice how Dave does it. He introduced, did you see how many different metaphors or stories or visuals that he used? Can we go back to that slide and see some of the stories that he did? Really the slide that has like the picture of the telomeres and the rope. Yeah, right there. It's perfect. And then let's full screen it. I think does that work? Or would that throw it off? Oh no, let's not full screen it. Sorry. So this works. This is good. So if you look at this slide here, he has so many visuals. Like the ultimate persuasion tip, TIP. It stands for turn it into a picture. And if you can help your audience to visually see what you're talking about, you're going to be more persuasive. He didn't just say, yeah, Bill Andrews dedicated his life to telomeres. He said, he started in the beginning. You always want to start where the audience is in their understanding. He says, you have a cell. Most people know that the body is made out of cells. And then the cell has a nucleus. Then the nucleus has the chromosomes, the DNA. That's the DNA. And most people have heard of the word DNA. Many people have at least heard of a chromosome, but he has a photo on there that shows that the chromosome and the DNA, like those are connected. Then he has a photo in the top right corner of the purple chromosomes with the red caps. And what he did is he's like, I want to make this so simple. I want to make it so like understandable. So what you want to do is you want to use kind of like bridges. Jesus did this so often with parables. He said the kingdom of heaven is like unto a sower that goes forth to sow, right? And by sharing two, you want to link something unfamiliar, like a telomere, with something that is familiar, like a shoelace. He talks about how your chromosome's like the cap, the plastic cap of your telomere. And I mean the plastic cap of your shoelace. Most people know the plastic cap, right? Some technically minded people, they'll say, well, that's called an aglet. Aglet, okay? So the aglet. But Dave doesn't do that. He never uses it. I've never heard him use the word aglet before. I only hear people talk about that off stage. But you'll notice if you're trying, I wouldn't do that. And I believe it's intentional. Because Dave is trying to use something unfamiliar, the telomere, with something that is familiar. Plastic tip of a shoelace. Every man, woman, and child can understand the plastic cap of the shoelace. But when you start using another foreign word to describe the original foreign concept, you're just bringing in too much to confuse the person. So drop the fancy words like aglet and just call it the plastic tip of the shoelace. And as it gets old, and it starts to damage and fray, and that shows up in genetic diseases and symptoms of aging. So he's using these kind of like bridges, and he has a rope that's actually showing you a baby. He has a picture of a fetus, and when you're born, you've got long telomeres with the red tape. I have some of his ropes that he's used before in presentations. And then as a child, they get shorter. As you're aging, they're a lot shorter. As you're dying, they're like the shortest. So you could see that progression, and it opens people's eyes. They're like, oh, wow, this is how it works. And he has that visual there. So that's why we have these slides, and we provide the slides for you. We allow you to use the slides, and I got the slides from Dave. We have these exact photos because they work. So why reinvent the wheel, right? And whenever you can find visuals to illustrate complex ideas, it's the ultimate persuasion tip. Turn it into a picture. When it's a picture, it's more emotional. When you see a person of an elderly man who's walking with a walker, then now that hits home a little differently. Because now you see the symptom of aging. You might know someone who has a walker. You might have a loved one. And another thing that, like, sometimes you're like, well, I don't have all these powerful stories. You can literally borrow Dave's story to build your story. But remember, he talked about these statements. There's these selling statements. What I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to these selling statements that he says. These buying beliefs. He says, every symptom of aging and every degenerative disease is linked to the length of the telomere. Period. He says it in every presentation. There are a few statements that he says in every presentation. Why? Because if someone believes every symptom of aging and every degenerative disease is a telomere issue, then they're more likely to buy a supplement that solves telomere issues. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
And then he talks about what are the symptoms of aging. Then he shows like eyesight, or people like walking where atrophy of their muscles, or the memory loss. And he talks about children are dying. And he quotes, these are not just statements that he's making, they're also statements that famous people made, like the Surgeon General says this is the first generation that is not expected to outlive their parents. He says that statement on almost every presentation that he gives. And sometimes it's on the slides, sometimes it's not. A lot of times it's not. A lot of the times he's like, he just has this like inventory of signature stories that he's constantly stacking. He's got these selling statements, he's got selling stories, and he's got selling statistics, because he also said 1 in 4 births are born with like birth defects or birth complications, right? That's a statistic. And then he said it's because of the toxins statistics. He says the toxins that are going into their body and causing all these issues, which is part of the solution that he's able to solve. And he shows that toxins shorten the telomeres faster. So his goal is to show you that every like health challenge that you're facing is a telomere issue. So if we could support the telomeres, and he's telling the story of edifying Bill Andrews very intentionally, because he's showing where people come into this and they believe you can't reverse the aging, you can't heal your genes, you can't repair DNA. Like we have someone, Katharina, you know someone who's trying to invite their sister and is like, look, the DNA can be repaired. She's like, it's impossible to repair the DNA, right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to attend the webinar because the person who's inviting them is all excited saying they can repair the DNA, saying these outrageous claims. But the way that Dave overcomes that objection is he literally inserts that belief. They laughed at Bill Andrews. They mocked him. They said that he's wasting his time. You can't repair the genes. But Bill Andrews knew you could. He knew it was possible, but he knew our bodies weren't doing it. So he was going to, he pioneered the way. When other people laughed at him, they called him crazy until he became inventor of the world. Then he's a genius. So everyone thinks that you're crazy until you succeed. Then they say you're a genius. So he didn't say that phrase. That's something Mr. Beast has said a lot from YouTube, the world's largest YouTuber. But it's that tone, that concept. He's noticed the direct story is they laughed at him, but he pursued it anyways. He pioneered the way. The indirect message that Dave is teaching is that other people say it's impossible. You might think, indirectly saying you might think it's impossible. You might have heard it's impossible to repair your genes or change your hereditary. Like how many people do you know that say like, I got a hereditary disease. These hereditary issues, that's the issue. He's talking about how to address hereditary issues. The very genes and telomeres that are damaged DNA, you could repair it. So he's indirectly overcoming the audience objections that makes them think that they're stuck and they can't overcome by saying they laughed at Bill Andrews through a story. But he's literally overcoming these buying objections. Are you guys seeing the masterpiece in this message?
Yeah, very well crafted.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you noticed that he did in this portion?
He likes talking about Nobel Prizes too.
Oh, that was another way that he addressed it, is he was saying that Bill Andrews found out how to lengthen the telomeres and turn it on. And he said this led to Nobel Prize winning research 2009 on telomeres, because Nobel Prize is awards. Part of the edification is awards, achievements, thing like accreditation or endorsements. So whenever you could show Nobel Prize backed research, it also lends credibility. And that's a powerful thing where you don't have to be a health expert. So many people think, I'm not a doctor, I'm not certified, or if I get this health certification, then I could build a business. We've been able to make $500,000 in profit in our online health business, sharing this message, this signature speech, and these stories. And it's really about borrowing other people's credibility by talking about Bill Andrews, by talking about John Anderson, by talking about Nobel Prizes, by talking about people with PhDs. You don't need to spend 9 years to get a PhD when you can quote someone who spent 9 years getting a PhD. And what's powerful is when you get good at edification, when you learn to edify the people you quote, you can leverage their 9 years degree to lend credibility to your messaging. that builds belief in your audience. Is that amazing or what?
Yeah.
I just saved you $50,000 plus. Or gave you the power to make $50,000 plus. Cameron, you said that something stood out to you?
Yeah, he used kind of like Bridge with computer software, like the DNA being the software that runs your computer, and as you age, it's like it gets deleted or disappears or something happens to it.
Absolutely.
So that's something that because telomeres are probably a new concept to people who are watching this. So that links it to something that they may already be familiar with.
100%. That is a perfect example of how he used software to show that when the software is damaged, what happens? It crashes. Mm-hmm. So then we're like, oh yeah, our health crashes, our health crisis. When the DNA is damaged, that's the program of the software of our health, of our body. And then by recognizing that kind of like Bridge, that metaphor, that metaphorical story, that visual, people are like, oh yeah, I've seen crashes. And then they relate it to their own experience. That's taking the unfamiliar with the familiar. And what Shanicia, I believe it was Shanicia who said, not only do you want to do this with new concepts, new terminology, you also want to do it with new people's names. Anytime you're introducing a new name of a credible source, talk about why they're credible. And it could just be 3 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, it could be 3 minutes of why they're credible, depending on how important that individual is to the overall main persuasive point of your message. But get good at edifying and introducing new concepts. Did you also notice in the beginning, before he started talking about all these like youthful aging science, he showed a photo of someone who was 80 years old?
Yeah. I was going to mention that too.
What can we switch the screen back to the speakers? Yes, please. And then yeah. All right, go ahead, Katharina.
So even before he shared the science, he shared a testimonial too that like talked about it too. So you don't have to wait until after you explain the science to share testimonies, but like people are like, ooh, I want that.
Yeah.
And so it just creates more credibility.
Exactly. And he showed a story of Jimmy Smith, who's 80 years old, on his 80th birthday, and then Jimmy Smith on his 90th birthday. He's like, look, Jimmy Smith looks older when he's 80 and younger when he's 90. And, oh, by the way, Jimmy Smith also made over $90 million in Isagenix by being able to share these things with others. And Jimmy Smith is currently the one who has made the most money in Isagenix, the #1 income earner of his lifetime for the course of the company. So.
And he's 90?
And he's over 90 years old. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's over 90. Yep. And so he's got a big vision, and he's been on a mission to help people. And Jimmy Smith has mentored Dave MacArthur in many ways, and they've had plenty of conversations too. So one thing that we could see is you want to surround these stories. Like Dave followed the formula that I like to call hook, story, offer. He hooked them with a photo, a visual of a happy, satisfied, paying client. Someone who bought the products 80 to 90. And also, he's appealing to baby boomers. He knows that baby boomers have large discretionary income, they have more money, and they are very interested in solving this problem. So he's showing a photo of his ideal client, his target audience. And so he hooks them with a before and after photo. He tells a story of how he looks younger. And then the offer is, now we're going to go into the science behind what makes this photo possible. Now they're hooked. It's like a mini like hook to capture your attention, to make you lean in and listen in and listen to what he has to share when he goes into the science portion of it. That was what he used as a transition from the intro to the content. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think I'll say one more thing, and we'll close the recording for now because we don't want to make it too long. There's a
Well, he shared that he was like living his dream life now. That's one way he shared it. Oh, okay. My computer's crashed, so I did not hear that part.
And I'm not sure.
story from scratch. It's like standing on the shoulder of giants. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. One of my biggest takeaways is just how intentional everything is, of like the stories and how many like little objections every single thing, like well crafted and everything is overcoming. That's like mind boggling to me. And the amount of edification that like was in the beginning was like, because I always thought that edification is something that you do like just like once in the beginning, but like it seems like it's throughout the whole talk is like we always edify. So that was very interesting too. Yeah, and another thing is that like he shared the vision and the why they were connected with his origin story. Like he made them so together. Like this is why I'm so passionate. This is why I'm so excited. And then he shared like his origin story. But I just see that how much his origin story is connected to the why, like why he is so passionate and like what we are here to do.
Can you hear me? I was really blown away by the limiting beliefs he was overcoming. I mean, there was just one right after the other for quite a while. It was just